All righty, folks. One of the big announcements of the week are people are starting to put together something called accidental landlords. We're going to talk with Mr. Lance Lambert, who is leading the charge in identifying the growth in accidental landlords. Lance, I read your report, Resi Club. It is outstanding. But why don't we start with a definition? What is an accidental landlord?
Yeah, so measuring it in the data is kind of tough, right? Because you don't exactly know who all are accidental landlords. One way to look at shifts in accidental landlords and where their composition of the current listing market is to look at the number of homes listed for rent that in the few months prior were listed in the for sale market. So that was a home that was listed for sale, did not sell, and then has made its way into the rental market. So it's not exactly the full definition of accidental landlord, where maybe somebody has a home, maybe they have the lower rate, and they're like, you know what, I already know that I want to keep it as a rental. When I go to buy my next house, I'm just going to list it as a rental and then go buy my next house. That person would not fall into this, because this is looking at those that went into the rental market, went into the for sale market, did not sell, and then went to the rental market. And so what we're seeing in the data is that there is a very clear, strong correlation between the markets that have weakened and softened more over the past couple of years and the uptick in accidental landlord listings.
Yeah. The thing when I think about accidental landlords, and I love your reporting on this, is again, I put myself in the shoes of the seller. And what this really tells me is this house was vacant, right? So again, you've made the decision to sell, which probably means you bought something else or you've moved somewhere else at a minimum, because you tried to sell it for 60, 90 days, whatever it is. Then you took it off the market and you rented it. That's not something you're going to do if you're living in the home, right? So I think this accidental landlord is actually it's aptly named, because if you list your home and you take it off the market, but you still live there, right? It never enters the rental pool. That's just a delisting. What you're doing here is you're delisting it and you're going to a different avenue, which is again, renting in this example. So I think you're onto something.
Yeah, exactly. These are like, more than the others, these are very much accidental landlords because they listed it for sale, right? They wanted to sell it. And then maybe they didn't get the offer that they wanted. Maybe they couldn't even get close to the offer they wanted. And they're like, you know what? This house still has a 2-3% mortgage rate. It could still cash flow as a rental. I don't really want to list it as a rental, right? I don't want to deal with that. I'm not used to being a landlord. I don't want that stress. But it can be a rental and it could still cash flow. And so they're going to test it there. Some of these people that are going to do this, they're going to try it out and they're going to learn, you know what, this isn't easy.
Not for me. Yeah.
It's not for me. Right. And especially
it's going to happen. Yeah.
Not all of these are going to go through a property manager, right? They're going to be the property manager. And so some of these are going to go back into the for sale market, and that seller is going to decide that difference between what they think, what they can get in the market and what they want, the stress of managing it as a rental, makes up for some of that difference, right? And they're going to be willing to do it. Others are going to be like, you know what, I like this cash flow. This kind of, helps me to get closer to my retirement goal in terms of cash flow for retirement. And maybe they stick with it. But some of these will end up going back into the for sale market. And so what we're seeing right now is that the highest share are in markets like Denver, where it's 4.9%. And I have a report here that I could show.
Yep, we've got it on the screen.
Houston, 4.2, Austin, 4.1, San Antonio, 3.9, Portland, Oregon, 3.7. So what that means is of the rentals on the market, around 1 in 20 were just for sale a few months ago. And then the lowest share are metros like Boston, Providence, Rhode Island, New York Metro, Hartford, Connecticut Metro, Buffalo Metro. And really, that's the story that we've been telling for a while, which is if you look at active inventory and you look at prices, there's been a greater softening in the Southeast and in the Mountain West, whereas a lot of the Northeast, Midwest, those markets have stayed tighter. Very much correlates. And we did the analysis here. You can see the scatter plot. strong positive correlation between them. Metros with a higher share of accidental landlords, those are also more likely the places where active inventory in the for sale market has gone up, right? And that's really been a nice proxy for figuring out softening. So you see Hartford, Connecticut, still 80% less inventory than pre-pandemic 2019.
That is wild.
Wild. Yes, exactly. It is crazy. And so while Denver 1 in 20 rentals in the single family market were just for sale, in Hartford, Connecticut, it's only 1 in 200. So
Yeah.
Denver, it's 1 in 20. Hartford, Connecticut, it's 1 in 200 are accidental landlords. And then you look at prices, same thing, where the markets that have gone higher than 2022 have a very low level of accidental landlords, and the markets where prices have went below and notably below 2022 levels have more accidental landlords. And so you were in the market back in the GFC period, and that was this on steroids back then, right? There was a lot of people who were underwater, couldn't sell. One kind of notable difference is that, in this market, there's a good number of those people that have those ultra low mortgage rates that these properties can cash flow.
Well, that should not be skipped over, because there's a lot of people out there saying we have a GFC 2.0 or bigger, badder than last time. And what you just said there can't be mixed. What was different last time is shelter cost exploded because these loans reset. That's not happening today. These are artificially low fixed rate shelter costs that likely produce cash flow. That can't be missed. That is a big difference.
And so 51.5% of outstanding mortgages today still have an interest rate below 4%.
Wow.
And around 29% are still under 3%. And so there are still some of these that, can go out there and cash flows, rentals that will 21, 20, 19, 18, 17. And another thing is, we have less financial stress than we did during that period. You do see, 30-day delinquencies have risen and 90-day delinquencies have risen, and 30 days above pre-pandemic and 90 days getting close, but they're still nowhere near like GFC levels of delinquencies. Actually, mortgage delinquencies are on the lower end, right? It's credit cards, it's
student loans.
Yeah. And I don't know if you can still see my screen.
We can. Yep, we see it.
Mortgage combined for 90-day. You can see there's what it was back in GFC. And you could see where there's more stress is actually credit cards, student loan, and then autos now back to pre-pandemic levels. And so that's something notable, right? And the fact that these loan to values, right? The LTVs are so much lower this cycle. And so there's a bit less stress there. But that's why some of these can be accidental landlords.
Correct.
Right? If they were under financial distress, they had to sell, right? More of them might be just staying on the for sale market, cutting down the price another 5, 10%, getting that transaction. Whereas some of these sellers are like, you know what? Can't quite get the number I want. I'm going to test it on the rental market. Now, so what's happening with some of these homes that are not successfully selling? And we had some of this last year, right? An uptick in it. And you had that uptick in delistings. What you've seen this year is in those softer markets, some of them have come back relisted, right? So we've seen an uptick in relistings. It's not like huge, but it's a notable amount.
Sure.
And then some of these are going as accidental landlords, and then some are, pulling off the market for a while, right? Maybe the seller comes back 1 to 2 years, or maybe it's like, they were going to sell their house and buy something else. And they're like, you know what? We're just going to wait it a little longer. We're going
to. I think there's a little tweak in there that really shows where the difference is. And that is, are you selling a home and living in it, or have you already bought something else, moved out, and then listing it? And that's where I think the difference is if you've already got a second mortgage payment, you're very likely going to turn this into a rental just to stop the burn. But if you're living there and you can't sell it, you're like, okay, I'll just keep my kids in school for 1 more year and we'll try again later. So it really is about those people who, I don't know, go out maybe on the risk curve and buy a second property before they sell the first one. That's where these accidental landlords are popping up, I think.
Now, I will say that there are some in this group that are, and I'm not deep into the methodology of how Zillow did it, so I'm not going to speak exactly to their methodology for this analysis, but there are some on the investor side, especially some of the bigger investors who are calling through some of their portfolio and selling off some, that some of the homes that they've listed for sale that have not successfully sold have then gone into back into the rental market.
Sure, for sure.
So one thing I see when I see some of the institutions selling is they'll sell in the for sale market. Maybe they'll cut the price a couple times. If they don't get their number, they then move it over to the rental market, back into the rental market. They'll list it there some, and then what will often end up happening is then they will list it back to the for sale market. So there is actually an opportunity for home buyers and also investors to be watching some of this in their market.
Yes.
We're seeing a home listed for sale that does not successfully sell after a few price cuts, goes into the rental market. That's a flag, right? Keep an eye on that, because if that property comes back in another 90 days, 180 days, even a year, that could be a seller who's just like, I'm ready to be done.
No, I would tell you that's a huge, huge opportunity, because if they're coming back that quickly, it means they got burned in this new area being an accidental landlord, and they are ready to sell. They are ready.
And if it's a bigger investor, one of these institutions, as much as the institutions are talked about the smart money, sometimes they're a little bit of the dumb money.
No, when they make a decision to sell it, they don't care. They're out. That's the key.
And so things to keep an eye on here, if you did have a labor market or financial conditions worsening, some of this, if there was the stress that builds up, right, you could see some more capitulation from some of these sellers who go back in. I do think that, a bit of strained affordability does put a bit of a ceiling here on how many people can become accidental landlords. And the reason I say that is it is so, a lot of people need the equity of their sale to go out and buy something else.
That's right? Exactly right. That's why they stay in their home when they're selling. Yes,
exactly. And so that does kind of put a bit of a ceiling here, where instead of becoming an accidental landlord, some people are just staying in their homes longer, right? Because that affordability ceiling.
Yep. Nope. Exactly right. Yeah. Again, I think these accidental landlords is a growing topic. I think it will grow from here, especially if we get into a recession. So again, Lance, I love that you're always housing. Where can people find your articles?
Yeah, if they want to follow along, you can find me on Twitter @NewsLambert, LinkedIn, Lance Lambert, or go to ResiClubAnalytics.com, put in your email. I do send out a few free articles per week.
Awesome. Lance, you're amazing. Thank you for being here every week. Later.
Thank you.